Hello and welcome back. You made it back to another episode of the European Autocraft Studios Porsche 944 Turbo restoration. Right now we're just going to clean up the back of it, get all the wiring out of it, a couple motors, the sunroof. Little issue with the sunroof I told you before. I'm going to correct that. Some of you may already caught it, but we're just didn't want to say anything, but we'll see. I'll show you how that, what happened, why I said what I said. But we're going to take the harness out, take the latching motor. This is the motor that releases the latches for the rear hatch. And move along the sides, disconnect the wiring harnesses, pull out the sunroof motor, and we'll see what else we can get done. So let's start by removing the this motor drive here for the latches. We'll just disconnect that. Lots of corrosion. We'll disassemble these connectors and clean those up real nice. These are just little 6mm bolts. While you're looking in this direction, you can see the holes for that rear reflector plate. We're going to fill those holes. The owner has indicated that he wants to put that back on, but I don't know about that. Alright, there we go. I'm just going to put the bolts back in here. Believe it or not, we're going to replate these. This car is going to have most things that it was born with. Some things we have to change. Okay, so there's our motor. The harness is tied to the body using these little plastic retainers. They're actually really neat. So we're going to try to save those too. It's going to use a tool to pop these off, but I don't want to damage the body. Even though everything's getting repainted, I just don't like to put any marks in the car that we don't have to. Yeah, simple. And another one here. Wow. Well, can't save them all. I think we can still get those. Now remember, this did not have license plate lights because the license plate lights were mounted on the bumper, and that was to shine the light up on the, onto the license plate, because there was a very horrifying reflector there for the. We'll go back and look at the carnage later. Okay, we have a ground wire here. That's something you'll see in the wiring diagrams that we're going to be doing. The next episode we do, it won't be with the car. We're just going to show you the early 944 wiring diagrams, the current flow diagrams, where all the power supply is at the top and all the grounds are at the bottom and everything else is in the middle. And we'll show you how to navigate those. It shouldn't be too bad. But these ground points on the wiring diagrams are listed as GP. I don't know what that means. Maybe somebody out there knows what that means, but it could be ground point or some other German word for ground. But they're all pretty well documented on the later diagrams. Okay, I would consider this to be not a good ground. There's some shiny metal there. It's probably conducting okay, but I don't like to see grounds like this, because sometimes you'll have one wire will be a good solid ground and the other wire won't go to ground, but it'll be solid to that wire but not making a good connection, and you end up with a potential voltage here and relays turn on. All kinds of crazy things can happen. This is a special bolt for the ground. I gotta verify that. I don't remember seeing anything like that before, but it's possible that is there just for the ground wire. More things to investigate. Some of you may have seen in the comments this decal. Somebody had mentioned they'd like to get a reproduction one. I sent a link to a company that I saw that remakes these. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we'll probably get one made for this as well. This has the color code, interior code, and any accessories this car may have are listed underneath. There's not many extra accessories on this car, but if you had other options that you ordered with the car, they would all be listed here. So we're going to go back and look at these codes so we know what exactly any kind of equipment that came with the car that was added with the car. So that should be interesting. But we're going to have another one of these made and put it in the same place after the car's painted. This is just beautiful rubber, it looks like. Okay. Alright, now, these are just simple little metal tabs that were tack welded, spot welded to the car. Makes it very easy to take these apart. Okay, now for the sunroof motor. I'll start by taking a little bracket off here. This isn't even bolted down here, it's just wedged in. I guess screws were getting expensive back then, so that's just a simple little piece there. Piece of insulation there so it doesn't rattle. And we'll keep all that together. I think I'll put these screws back in. We have a lot of hardware out and about in little boxes and containers, so try to keep everything semi-organized. The rear bracket, it just bolts on through the license of the taillight assembly, and that's what holds the back. But you can also remove it with this screw here, but we'll just take the whole bracket with it. Those are off. See, this has been worked on before quite a bit. 944 sunroof, you know it's been worked on quite a bit. Okay, we don't want to put too much tension. We don't want to put a kink in this tube. This is what houses the cable. It looks like a giant speedometer cable, but it's a spiral, and that's what goes up and drives the two latching motors up inside. So we're going to separate the motor drive from the cable assembly right here. You can see there's a block. If all goes well, we'll be able to separate the cable here. These assemblies look sort of ominous when you start working on them, but once you get to know them, it's pretty easy to work on. Okay, little screws there. Okay, that's the cover. And there's our cable. Now, in one of the videos I told you that we have the early style, but it uses a clutch. The clutch slips to stop the gears from moving once the unit goes to the end of the cycle. That was wrong. The early style uses the micro switches. These are the micro switches that turn on and off at different times. You see there's a step. One of them is for close, and then the other one hits after it goes the rest of the way. I think this is up and down from the tilt position to the flat position. Don't know for sure yet. But we're gonna go through all this in the wiring diagram and see how this all works. All right. And okay. If we have time in this video later on, we're going to take the cable assembly out, but for now we're just going to focus on the wires. mystery wires. Okay, since all of these are disconnected underneath, we have some little wire clamps and things that had to be just disconnected, but otherwise, when we were under there, everything else got disconnected anyways. These are brake pad sensor, things like that. Get these out of the way. This is for the, if you remember this from before, part of the stereo harness. That's will not look like that when it goes back in. Remember this when we forgot to pull the wire out on the other side for the rear hatch. And might have to take the plastic housing off. Or what I might do, simplify things, is cut this. I don't think the connector is going to fit through there anyways. I have these connectors. I can cut this and just pull a wire through, and I'll put a new connector on it and then put the black plastic back over it again. So that was probably installed after it was put in. Okay. Keep the wire as long as we can, and I'll separate that after. All the grommets have to come too, so they don't get paint on them. It's a nut plate for the rear seat latch. I'm going to put this grommet back on the wire in the direction it came out. I'm also going to zip tie this with it. I don't know if I broke that or if it was split. I think it was split. So that's how they got it in there with the connector. I should have pulled that first. But either way, it'll be fixed properly. This, I'll never remember where that goes. So I'm going to leave it here until we get back. When we get back to taking the rest of the stuff out, I'll grab that. Yeah. That is split. I've never had to do this before. This side, the grommets are not cooperating. Very brittle. One thing I forgot to mention, this tool is so if you have a malfunction in your sunroof and you need to close it, this is a special tool you use to unlock this and then rotate the motor by hand. It separates the drive gear from the cable itself, so you can push the cable. When I went to school, they showed us how to do this many years ago so we could show our customers. I completely forgot how to do it. I've never had to, but maybe I'll look up the procedure again and we'll run through it just in case you want to see it. We'll get to that another time, but I did want to mention that. Alrighty, let's see. Wires everywhere. Tools everywhere. A lot nicer going back together. Okay, rear harnesses, taillight harnesses. Okay, this, let's see, let's remember our speedometer transmitter. And it looks like brake pad warning sensor for that side. All this came up, the grommets just crumbled on this side, so we'll replace those, but the wires came out okay. Please don't ever do this. This is more interesting stuff. Oh, this This is wiring for your home. Very nice. High quality. As I mentioned in one of the other videos, when we put the sound system in this, we're going to have one nice harness for the low-level input signals to the amplifiers, and then one for the higher, 2 little channels coming up here. So it'll be nice and neat and organized. But this is not good. Same with this. But our factory harness is looking good back here. This we can clean up and make nice. I think we'll just leave this here for now. When we get to the front, we'll do more there and remove that. What else do we have here? A couple of speakers. You can take those out. Yeah. This thing screw. Crossover. Optimus. And one missing screw. Many of these break. I'm surprised that these are actually coming off so easily. It's a little water scupper. The hose connects here underneath and drains any water that gets in through the latch. Pretty clever. Now this link rod is a latch that hooks ball. The latch hooks the ball socket, actually. Okay. There's the ball. And if you look, there's the, well, actually, you can see that. A little latch I was fumbling with to open it, and that spreads the spreads that out. And that's it. These should be lubricated, I wouldn't say too frequently, but you don't want a lot of grease to build up in there. But this one hasn't seen any lubrication in probably 100 years. Maybe more. Okay. Amazing. Come right off. Spoke too soon. That's just the plastic stuff. Well, I think what's happening here, see the rust build up in here. This one came off okay. This one, I think the bolt or the stud is rusted into the little metal support ring in there. So it's not so amazing it came right off. A little penetrating oil. There it is. As you can see, the penetrating oil didn't even get where I was aiming it, but we got it anyways. Okay. Difficult spot, but we got it. All right, let's move on. We'll try to find them some factory keys. These are not good. so much crud in there I can't see where it starts and where it ends. This is the anchor point for the jacket, but it also serves as an adjustment. You can move this back and forth to adjust the pull on the cable. Boy, that's a real mess. But like everything else, we'll clean it up. There's a seal, and there's the plate that holds the bottom. A lot of rust in there. I'm sure that'll be cleaned up. No, it's a surface rust. It's not too bad. Lock washers we replace anyways. They don't last that long, or they won't survive plating. Being real careful with these because I think we can reuse them. I don't even know if you can purchase these anymore, except maybe used. But we'll see if we can. If we can, we'll get them, but maybe not. Okay. Now the lock. Oh, and our other key. Ratchet all over the place. Okay, that's pretty simple. The little standoffs. This holds the lock assembly, and then the little standoffs hold the bracket, which is the pivot point for the two rods. So basically, the key, when you put the key in, it does the exact same thing the motor does. The actuation is the same. So there's no separate latch like on a hood latch or a remote hood latch. So pretty easy stuff. We'll take out the snaps for the rear cover. Just our little snaps, washers, snaps, everything. Those will go in a separate spot. What else? The decal we're going to try to remove safely with a heat gun. We have miscellaneous leftover from the interior. Those are all no good, brittle. Another one over here. Can't see it, but just from one of the interior trim panels. We'll get all new ones of those. Nothing worse than a sloppy trim panel. Well, I think that's it for today. Just a little cleanup in the back here. The rest will just be removing miscellaneous things like this. You don't need to see all that. It's just routine stuff. We'll get this ready. It looks like the body shop may be ready for us in about 2 months. He's backed up pretty bad, but we're on the schedule for 2 months. That gives us time to get this ready, get the trolley made underneath it with the casters. We're going to make it so he can push it in or push it around his shop. And we'll take you along for that too. We'll be going to visit him from time to time to see what progress he's making and how the body's shaping up. And that's about it for now. So thanks for watching again. Please subscribe. That's the big thing. Subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Yeah, let's keep it going. Next week, early wiring diagrams with no car. And we'll see how long that goes. If you guys like it, we'll do. It's probably going to take 2, honestly. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So I'll see you next week. Thanks.